Hey, this is David the Shepherd School, and today we're going to talk about communications, specifically making a communications plan. Now, in today's society, we're kind of used to the internet and these radio waves and instant gratification. You've got a question for somebody, poof, you put it out there, and you get a little answer. You've got mail type thing right quick. And a lot of us realize that in a natural disaster or a man-made disaster, cell phone towers and such will not be operating at their peak efficiency, right? And how do we deal with that? Well, something that I've learned through doing some disaster response work is a lot of times a telephone company will preempt some of this cell phone bandwidth usage by shutting off the area code in the disaster emergency. So say I live in the 615 area code, right? They can go in there and flip a switch and make where 615 numbers get a busy signal. But they figure responders are most likely going to be coming in, FEMA and mutual aid from other states. A lot of the responders that come in won't have that 615 area code. They might have a 901 area code. So they come in and because you just took off the 615, all those other ones can work. And we learned that doing the Kentucky ice storm a couple years ago, and it worked really good in this last North Alabama tornadoes. My in-laws live in northern Alabama, Decatur actually, just outside of Huntsville, and they couldn't communicate, across town. My in-laws were at their farm, and my sister-in-law was at her work, and my other sister-in-law was at her work, and they couldn't communicate. So what I did is I just called in like every hour to the farm and said, "Hey, are y'all okay?" "Yeah, okay. Well, I'm about to call, whoever. Do you have a message?" And they'd say, just find out when they're coming home. And so I just call around like every hour and call those people and be that information node, right? Now, my plan was a little lacking because we didn't discuss this ahead of time. So it took me, 15 minutes to explain, why I was calling, because I don't have the people skills so terribly much. So I don't necessarily just call my in-laws just to say, "Hey, how you doing?" Even though they're pretty cool people. So, having an out-of-state contact, somebody that everyone in your group or family or whatever can call out and leave a message to is a very important aspect of a communications plan. Also, ham radios, right? It doesn't take very much to get a license. As a matter of fact, the FCC, they got rid of the Morse code requirement a decade ago, right? And all you have to do is just pass a test. Well, the cool thing is, or, it depends on who you are, but for us, the cool thing is there's a test bank of like 500 questions. And the test is like 35 of those 500 questions. And they're always the same. The test comes out of the test bank. So for me, I just went online, and I'll post a link in the details, whatever. But I just went online and took practice tests till I passed, right? And I didn't really know a lot about it, but it didn't take me very long to get ready for the test. So I went and I paid about $10 or so, took the test, and got a technician's license. So bought a couple little ham radios, and I'm not really a ham radio guy because I enjoy the talking. I like getting somebody to say hello, but then I'm like done. I don't want to talk anymore. But being able to use a handheld radio, there's some repeater towers, near me that can cover almost all of Middle Tennessee down into southern Alabama. So all my family and my in-laws are within talking distance of a ham radio. And this one, and I'm going to do a review of it in a second, but it only cost about $100, right? And that's cheap enough where I could get one for the wife for her car, throw one in a in a Faraday cage, whatever, and then have one on me so that we can communicate, because the ham radio isn't dependent on cell phone or anything. It's radio wave. So there's some distance problems and some other liabilities that you need to learn about to deal with ham appropriately. But it's very robust, and for decades, for as long as there's been emergency management, ham radio people have played a good hand-in-hand role with emergency managers in disaster communications. So part of a good communications plan, out-of-state contact, lists of who you want to talk to, some sort of alternate means of communication like your ham radio. All this stuff is pretty useful. So basically, you need to figure out in a disaster who you need to talk to, right? And figure out alternate ways of talking to them. Okay? And if you worry about, secure communications, there's all sorts of stuff for that, but that's outside the scope of this. But I just wanted to pass on the tip of an outside contact. So until next time, you can always catch us online at www.tngun.com.
I've got a plan, fits my point of view. I'm giving